Hello, Internet! I'm Ellie the Purple Hair Doofus, and welcome to Buddy Reads, where I read a small selection of a book and review it for you. Today we are continuing our journey through The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss, and covering chapters 41 through 49. I hope you've read up to that point yourself, because I do not want to ruin anything for you. Our section begins with Kvothe, Sim, and Will working in the archives to research the Amir. And while they are researching the Amir, there are a couple of guys a table or two over that are being really loud. They're talking probably as loud as I am to each other, when you're supposed to talk in a quiet, hushed tone and be very courteous to other people who are trying to study in the archives. And this is how Kvothe and Will and Sim are talking with each other. But those other assholes are like, "Hey! Did you see that sports event last night? What a rotten display." It irritates Kvothe. And he goes over and he chews them out. Will and Sim are like, "I can't believe you did that." Kvothe is like, "What are they going to do? Really?" And the next thing you know, you have Lauren coming over and ousting Will, Sim, and Kvothe from the archives for 5 days. Because it breaks one of the rules, which is you don't talk to other people sitting at other tables. It's at this point that Kvothe is like, "Okay, I can't actually study, I can't actually research the Amir, so what should I do with myself?" And he decides that he is going to go visit Devi. He walks over to Devi's place through all of the snow and sleet and rain and everything to make amends, to say, "I am so sorry that I offended you. I hate that we have this between us right now. I just need to explain myself. Please accept my apology. Please be my friend again." He gets there and he's like covered in snow, and she's like, "Oh my god, are you a moron? Come on!" And she like rushes him into her place and has him stripped down and get into like this big robe, and they're sitting at her desk and he sees like this little burn mark that happened during the scuffle, and he can't stop concentrating on the burn mark. He's just like, "I am so sorry. I had someone using my blood and I had to rule you out. What can I do to make this right?" And Devi is just like, "I don't know. This is definitely, you've burned my trust." And he's like, I need to do something. And Devi doesn't actually tell him to do anything. She's like, coming over here stupidly in the sleet and snow on foot is probably enough to show me that you're really sorry. So we'll go back to our original deal. I don't want to say that we're back to being friends yet, but we'll go back to our original deal. And you can pay me back at the original date. Kvothe is like, "Oh, thank God." Kvothe gets back to his place after the whole thing with Devi, and he finds a note. And the note is from Denna. And it says, "I am so sorry I have left the city." And I'm like, yes! Sweet bundles of joy! Yes! Denna's gone! Now again, it's not like I hate Denna. It's just Kvothe kind of turns into something I don't like around Denna. I am like over the moon that Denna's gone right now. Kvothe, on the other hand, is not. And he goes to class. Once he gets to class, he's expecting Master Eladon to show up like hours late like he usually does, disheveled and everything. But no, Master Eladon actually shows up on time, and he is wearing his robes, and he is clean shaven, he is very prim and proper, he is very perfect, and he says, "Fela, that girl, come up here." Well, he doesn't say that girl, he actually pronounces the name correctly. I don't know how to pronounce it. But he says, "You, get up here." And she gets up there, and Master Eladon says, "All of you have been attempting to learn the name of certain things, and I am proud to announce that Fela has found her name." And he says, "What were you looking for?" And she says, "I was looking for the name of Stone." And he says, "And did you find it?" And she says, "Yes." And he gives her a stone, and he says, use the name of stone on this stone. And Fella concentrates on the stone for a long, long time. And Master Eladin is like standing behind her, and he's like kind of trying to calm her down. And he's like, just remember, listen to your sleeping brain, and it will come to you again. And Fella says it, and the stone kind of lifts up and kind of morphs into like this ring thing. All of her other classmates are like, wow, that's amazing. That's what we can do with the name. And Master Eladin is like, yes, this is perfect. Fella has, passed the class. They're like, wow, that's awesome. And everyone is very happy for Fella. Kvothe congratulates Fella. They go out for drinks. And then he goes to Master Kelvin, who says, are you ready to show me what you've been working on with all of your new resources that I gave you? And he says, of course I am. And he sets up this scarecrow, and he gives Master Kelvin a crossbow. And he says, fire a crossbow at this scarecrow. Master Kelvin's like, okay. And he puts up the crossbow and he fires it. The arrow shoots through the air and stops about halfway between Mr. Kelvin and the scarecrow, and then just drops. Mr. Kelvin's like, what the? And so he shoots another one, and it shoots about halfway, and it stops and falls. Kvothe picks up this iron, I want to say iron ball with gold rings around it. Mr. Kelvin's like, what in the world is that thing? Kvothe says, it's a protection barrier. I've invented an invisible shield that you can take with you into battle. Mr. Kelvin's like, wow, that's amazing. But again, you've created something that really shouldn't be out there in the world. So again, I'm going to have to confiscate this and tell you never to make another one ever again. Kvothe's like, damn it! Master Kelvin is going through all of these charges that he has to charge Kvothe with for taking all of the equipment, for taking all of the supplies and everything. He's like, it feels like he is punishing Kvothe for what he has done. And then he says, now this thing that you've made, how much would you sell it for? And Kvothe says, I really have no idea. I didn't really think about selling it. He says, how much would you pay for it? And Mr. Kelvin says, well, I'd pay about 25 talents. And in this world, 25 talents is a whole bucket load of money. Like a whole, wow, full of money. Kvothe is like, 25? He wants to gladly accept it, but then he thinks about it. He's like, I was thinking a lot less. And Master Kelvin is like, really? And he says, yeah, I don't really think that we should try and put a price on safety. I don't think that we should make this so expensive that not everyone can get it. I don't think that safety is only for the rich. I think it's for everyone. And Master Kevin's like, that's very admirable, but I need to pay you for your work and for this object that I'm taking from you. So here, have 25 talents. Minus all of the other things that I just said that you have. And Kvothe's like, what? So he takes the rest of the money. I believe he's left with I want to say 12 talents after all of the charges are incurred. He's like, wow! He goes to his place and he starts singing because he's very happy about all of this money that he has gained. And while he is singing with his friends and everyone around him, the cops come in, and the cops say, Master Kvothe, under this decree, you have been arrested for the charges of harmful intent towards a man named Ambrose, or something like that. Something to that effect. Basically, he got arrested for something that on this timeline happened years ago when he fought against Ambrose and used the name of the wind against Ambrose. Yeah. They're arresting him for that. You would expect, the next big chunk to be about getting Kvothe out of jail, but he just kind of glosses over it. He says, yeah, I went to jail, yeah, I went to trial, but we're done with that now. I eventually got out, and yay. And then we go to the present, and there's the chronicler and Bast and him, and they're all sitting around, and the chronicler says, you're not going to talk about the trial? That was my favorite story I've ever heard about you. How can you not talk about the trial? And Kvothe is like, it's just a non-story. And chronicler's like, oh, okay. The chronicler tries to push Kavoth into it while he is serving lunch to others, and he tries to trick Kavoth into it by talking to other patrons and being like, do you remember the trial at Kavoth? Wasn't that amazing? Why don't you tell me what you think happened? And why don't you tell me what you think happened? And all these people are telling stories, but they're all kind of conflicting each other. And the only one that knows the true story is Kavoth. Kavoth, of course, hears this, and he gets a little irritated. All of a sudden, he starts saying, hey, guys, you ever heard the tale of the chronicler? And he starts coming up with these lavish, fantasy-filled stories about the chronicler, about having a sword that like has all of the people that he killed written on it in blood, and it was a great story, but like completely false. When Chronicler's like, why did you do that? Why would you tell them lies like that? And Kavoth says, well, it doesn't really feel good to have falsehoods, told about you, does it? It doesn't feel good to have falsehoods out about you, does it? Don't try and control my story. I'm going to tell it however I want. And if you don't like it, you can leave. And it feels at this point that it's not Kavoth talking to the chronicler. At that point, it felt more like Patrick Rothfuss talking to the reader, and it hurt, and it sucked. It just felt like he was really digging at the readers who were like, I wanted to hear more about this. And he was like, don't control this story or I won't tell it. And I was just like, oh. But the chronicler agrees, okay, I won't try and control your story, but please can we continue on? And Kavoth says, okay, we will. And he talks about trying to go back to school after being arrested. Everyone's kind of pushing back against him. And so he is convinced to take some time off. All of his friends say to take some time off. All of his professors tell him to take time off. And eventually he does, because if he were to try and go through admissions again, he would have such an incredibly high tuition that he wouldn't be able to pay it. And the reason is because of the trial, is because of the arrest. There are so many rumors out about him right now that it's just insane. He decides to give away his admission style, and he decides to just take a semester or so off. And that's pretty much where the section ends for right now. The only thing, I love that Dinah left. I absolutely adore that Dinah left, but to dig at your readers the way that Patrick Rothfuss did right there really rubbed me the wrong way. It was just like, oh, ow, ooh. So, yeah. That kind of hurt right here. If you like what I'm doing, go ahead and click the subscribe button. If you like this video specifically, go ahead and click that like button. And go ahead and leave a comment letting me know how you feel when authors kind of dig at you while you're reading. I've been Ellie the Purple Haired Doofus. This has been Buddy Reads, reminding you to watch your pajama radius. And I will see you all in the next section of Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. Toodles!